I think there's a conversation that just needs to be had, right? Brian and I need to have this conversation. I think, Brian, we need to talk about Section 8. We need to talk about misunderstandings. And then also, I want to hear about your dinner. But Brian, first, let's talk about Section 8. Are you pro or con? Do you have any? Do you don't? What's going on in your portfolio?
Yeah. So I've got 100+ units, all affordable housing. Okay. I was very intentional about that. And it is because I'm pro Section 8 and subsidized rents all day long, twice on Sunday. Um,
Yeah, I want to echo that. Every unit I own is available for Section 8 rental, affordable housing. That was important for me from day one. I grew up with very little, housing challenged, fearful of losing it. So everything I own is available. Not that they're all rented Section 8,
true,
but they're
true.
all available for Section. It was a big part. There are obviously some cons, which we'll get into in a minute. But yeah, I'm on that side with you.
For sure. And for the first time ever, Mike, we just may have to invoice the viewers for this information we're about to.
Works for me. Works for me. Brian will be sending you all an invoice.
No, but we got some good stuff. I had the liberty of taking my Section 8 representative out last night to dinner and over cigars, and he shared some things with me that I just, in my 17 years, have never heard before. And that is, at least specifically in our market, he's the number one agent in all of Michigan. And he shared with me that the voucher holders now have the leverage in the marketplace because so many people since COVID who got burned, couldn't collect rents, have now all figured out, oh, you know what? Maybe I should have Section 8 housing. And so
Interesting.
the market has now become more saturated with inventory that are Section 8 friendly, which historically just had not been the case. And with that, these voucher holders understand that they got the pick of the litter. And so now to really win Section 8 vouchers, people have been waiving security deposits,
Wow.
giving televisions upon move-in, vacuum cleaners.
Oh my
Like, it's
goodness.
not.
Wow.
What else?
This is pretty interesting. I want to hear from the audience. So again, I got to, certainly a national audience here. What is going on in your market for Section 8? Because I want to hear if this is Michigan or Detroit specific. Maybe it's flipped because I haven't looked recently, and I will be calling my team today to find out. But most of the country, I think I'm fair to say, there's more vouchers than supply, right? I have heard and read many articles about people getting vouchers and can't use them for years and potentially losing them. So it'll be very interesting to see if inventory really changed. And I get it. I think it makes perfect sense, right? You were a landlord, you were cash, then people stop paying, and you go, gosh, I got to go get me some of that Section 8. So you could go from a city or an area that's very not Section 8 friendly to I might as well get something. So it seems like that occurred. I wonder where else that might be occurring across the country, and I just don't see it. I don't know.
Yeah, I certainly did. I mean, last night was the first time I've ever heard this before, Mike. And
Yeah.
and it forced us to look at the portfolio in a different way and see how far would we go, how agile would we be, and on what specific properties would we do that. Another thing is there's certain agencies within our market that, I mean, we could probably get 10, 12, 15 Section 8 tenants immediately if we're willing to include everything, which our modus operandi is we try to get vouchers that exclude utilities. So we get the
Right.
voucher, but then, right.
Yeah.
But even with this, there were a couple properties that I identified that we probably would take 60% of those tenants that have all-inclusive vouchers, as long as the voucher is high enough to where it makes sense. And so it just was a very unique conversation, one of which, again, I don't believe would have gotten to that depth
No,
had I not been here, right? I just don't think we would have had a casual conversation over the phone and he divulged all of this.
Yeah,
But
and
it's
let's be clear. I don't think that happens in a knee-to-knee conversation. I think that happens at dinners with cigars. People put their guard down. You get a little deeper. You really understand what's going on. That's where that stuff happens. That doesn't happen. Like if you're doing that in an office, that doesn't happen.
For sure. For sure. 100%, man. And so that for me, like that's a huge shot in the arm to what we can do to kind of expedite the tenant placement in the portfolio and having,
Sure.
you know, a more strategic plan other than just being just hanging out there on the website waiting for
Yeah.
somebody to want, right, because it's not happening. And so much so that he was telling me he could put a property up in the morning, and by noon that day on an affordable housing site, it would be like 177 listings down.
Wow. So we definitely have again, I want to hear from the audience. It certainly seems like your market is definitely flipped. Landlords have definitely, for whatever reason, maybe ignored Section 8 because they could for a long time.
Yep.
But now they're like, nope, everything I have is going Section 8. Because that's crazy. You put something up at 8 a.m. and by 3 p.m. it's way down the list.
For
It's never going
sure.
to get seen.
For sure. For sure. So he's got something to
Wow.
circumvent even that. Right. And so it's so much that my mind was blown last night. Seriously.
Yeah, I wonder what's
Because
going to go on with
the
rent.
cost of ignorance to that, Mike,
Oh, yeah.
catastrophic. If you're
Catastrophic. Yeah.
oh, I mean, you could sit there vacant for months on end, not understanding why you're not getting hits.
Yeah, because that's again, I want to see what's going on across the country. Because if when I put up a unit, these apartments or houses or both?
Both. Yeah, they're both.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So the last thing I put up was a house. So that's all I have, right? So we put up a house. It was Section 8 or affordable housing eligible, I guess they call it. And I think within 2 days, we had like, I don't know, 3 cash or 3 whatever traditional tenants and like 9 Section 8 tenants.
Mm.
Um, so we're still seeing a lot of vouchers, I guess you would call them,
Mm-hmm.
and not a lot of supply. But I wonder just I mean, do you think this could just be a Michigan, Detroit thing? Or do you think this might be a national trend moving?
If I had to venture a guess, just based off of the owner operators I talked to and how many of them had a negative stigma around Section 8,
Oh, that's true.
right? I mean, and I
Yeah.
just shared this really quick. He shared with me a report analysis that was done, and I'm not the statistic guy, Mike, so forgive me. I don't remember over what period of time, but it showed the the cost to turn a property
Mhm.
from a cash tenant and a Section 8 tenant who both occupy the property for the same amount of time, right?
Mhm.
And the average in our market was $2,800 for a cash tenant,
Okay.
$480 for a Section 8 tenant.
Why do you think that is?
Well, historically, now you know the rumor has always been Section 8 people tear your property up.
True.
But they what they found is that psychologically for most Section 8 people, they took more pride in the fact that they had something for the first time in their lives, or right back to what we talked about, starting from
Mhm.
you know, unfortunate circumstances. This is for many of them their first place that they've ever had, and they take more pride and value in that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was staggering to look at. Was that about a 70% drop off?
Yeah, I could go back and look that up. I've never looked at that. That's a stat I've never even thought of looking at. So thank you for that.
For
But you're
sure.
absolutely right. A lot of things that people don't realize is Section 8, these yearly inspections, which I absolutely love yearly
Me too.
inspections
Me too.
because I get to quality check the PM,
Yeah,
right? I'm paying you whatever percent I'm paying you. And if I get a Section 8 report that tells me you're not doing your job, we're going to have a painful conversation.
for sure.
But where I'm going with that is they can also hold the tenant accountable
Absolutely.
and they can lose the voucher. So again, once you get in the program and you have this assistance, the last thing you want to do is lose it. So it'll be interesting to see because again, you always hear the horror stories, just like you
Mhm.
always hear the horror stories about landlords, right? Yes, there are slumlords out there that there's a special place in hell for them,
For
just
sure.
like there's a special place in hell for bad tenants.
For sure.
But most of them, it would make sense that there's less. So that's a pretty interesting stat.
Yeah. Yeah. And to go back and actually answer directly what you asked, I believe that stigma is is more of a universal thought, right? And for that reason, I think what we're seeing in our market, while it may be excessive in our market, particularly because when the rent moratorium was lifted, it was starting to take in Wayne County 6 to 9 months to get a tenant out.
Yeah.
Because of the backlog, right? So
Yeah.
I think that additional pain has caused a lot of owners to just say, I had enough. Like I gotta, as much as I hear negativity about this Section 8 thing, I gotta at least try it to insulate myself
Right.
some.
Yeah.
And another
Spread
thing
your
that's
risk.
starting at 100%. And I like to think, I mean, Wayne County ain't the only county that probably had backlog after moratorium. So
Oh no, that's across the country, brother. There's no question. It's taken long. Even in Texas, it's taken longer. Yes.
okay, so I would venture to guess we're probably going to start to see this trend in with Section 8 across the country.
Yeah, let's play this out because I think you're onto something. Let's just say there's 1,000 units available in a market. We're just going to use round numbers. Historically speaking, knowing landlords like we both do, my guess would be 200 of the 1,000 are probably open because of the stigma. Maybe also the price point because some are just, they're A class and they're not eligible given price points.
Sure.
But you're right. You go through this recession, you got a 9-month backlog, you're frustrated, you can't pay the bills, you're dipping into savings. It probably wouldn't shock me if that 200 certainly doubled, maybe even tripled. And then if you do that in a very short window, yeah, you get to a point where the voucher holders, to your point, they're suddenly the pretty girl at the dance, right? It's pretty interesting to think about.
It is. And one other thing is that my buddy was telling me one of his clients is in Argentina, right? So we have a lot of international investors in Detroit. They caught on years ago. Like the country still listened to the news and they're like, I'm never going there. And it's like, okay, cool. I stopped convincing people a long time ago.
Yeah, you're not in the convincing business?
Not at all. I say I agree with you. 100%.
Yeah, stay away.
Yeah, for sure. And he said that he had to educate them because they were like, 3-bedroom, 3-1 in the suburbs. They're like, we just want $1,000 Section 8. He was like, but it's a $1,540 voucher. It's like, yeah, but we don't even need that. We just want. He's like, no. So let me tell you how this is going to work. Yeah. I'm going to get you a 15 because you're not going to mess up. So what I'm saying is that if you have people that aren't under the guise of someone like him, that's just like, you know what? I'll even take your 2-1 voucher. They're screwing up even the marketplace for what we can go out and get the maximum for the voucher. So it's going to be very interesting going forward. And I'm just so grateful to have, the number one guy in the state on my team.
That is so awesome, folks. This is what you do. Continued network growing. Brian's lived in Michigan, invested in Michigan, moved. He's still growing his network. Brian, if somebody wanted to follow along, maybe join the challenge, where are we sending
them? Brian Adamson Real Estate on YouTube and www.iflipchallenge.com. I'm telling y'all, it would change your life. Come to the iFlip Challenge. It's 5 days. You get to pick my brain for 1 hour a day. And then, we teach you how to grow your portfolio, raise capital, put infrastructure in place, all that good stuff. So iflipchallenge.com.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Mike.